Good afternoon, friends. I'm Elizabeth Bielman, and welcome back to Unearthing Shadows Light. Okay, kind of a heavy topic today. We're going to be discussing, I wrote keynotes, so bear with me. We're going to be discussing ancestral trauma and curses and ancestral chains and breaking the lineage line of trauma. Yes, that was a mouthful. Every lineage line has trauma in its wake. Dealing with, for instance, say you are a descendant of someone who died in the Salem witch trials, and that fear and trauma gets passed down through the lineage lines until nowadays where you're realizing why you're so shameful for your belief system, whether that's been ran through your family or the outwards aspects of your day-to-day. So that is an example. How about, you ever hear growing up, stop or I'll give you something to cry about? I have. You can't leave the table until you have finished all of your food. I have. So with the stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, in that moment when that is said to a human, child, adult, however it goes, that child in that moment has gotten the information from you or whoever saying it, I'm just saying as you, comes from you, and they have made an agreement with themselves that having emotions is a bad thing. That not being able to process an emotion is a bad thing. So much so to the point of being very stoic, being cold, because they were taught growing up that you don't cry, you don't show emotions. This is really huge, especially with men. Men need to be strong. They always have to do all the hard work, the physical labor. They have to not cry and show emotion, not for nothing, but if more men showed emotion, this world might be a happier place. Being taught that it's okay to sit in your emotions. When that's said to you as a child, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about, that's pretty much telling the child or whoever that they're not allowed to feel what they're feeling. Like, they could have skinned their knee, and it's the first time that they've skinned their knee, right? And they don't know that pain. They're just figuring it out for the first time. And then the crying comes, and then people come in, you better stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Well, in that moment, that child has made a decision to no longer be emotional. They have no range of emotions. We are their range. So as lineage lines progress and as children are mirrors and sponges and they learn from their exterior and what's in their life, things are being taught that maybe you aren't realizing. And things are much different now from when I have grown up, but we still have some work to do. I was hit with belts, coat hangers, wooden spoons. This was whether it was my mom or it was my aunts or it just... Gotta understand, I grew up in a family where my dad is one of 9, and, everyone would take care of the youngers, and take that on. So the girls were taught to cook and to clean and to do the laundry, because my Nana grew up in the Depression, so that's what she knew. So that's what she taught. So then through the lineage lines, we're dealing with only the women are picking up doing certain things, and the men are coddled in certain regards, or they need to work outside the home. Things are very, very different now. Touching upon, you can't leave the table until you have finished your food. I feel like a lot of that comes from the Depression era, or in families that don't have enough money and you know, you better eat the food that we cook or it goes to waste, etc., etc. But they don't touch upon now, even more so, they're figuring out that a lot of people have weight problems, you know, their body problems, because they were taught to sit and to finish every ounce of food on your table, not eat until your belly tells you not to. Americans as a whole, we deal with this. But it's taught through lineage lines. How about you have to do such and such because we are family? No, you don't. No, you don't, friends. And that's where it comes for boundaries. Don't get me wrong, I do think, like, my family, and this is all love, because I have never been taught so much love, you know, from my mom's side and my dad's side. But my dad, again, was one of 9, so we're dealing with a lot of different personalities. And my Nana, you know, she's really up there in age, and she's having a tough time. And we're all kind of stepping in to help, and that's all well and fine. You know, like, we do it because we want to do it. But sometimes things can come off, and I'm only telling this to you because I'm touching upon the guilt aspect of families. You must do this because we're family. This needs to be done because we're family. Well, guess what? Regardless of whether we're family or not, we have our lives, and I'm speaking for the collective, not just at anybody. This is for the collective. Everyone has their own life. Everyone has their own boundaries. Everyone has their own energy that can get out and do what only so much until you start burning the candle at both ends. And if you don't know someone else's circumstances to lay that guilt trip down for your family, it's really, I mean, we're all doing the best that we can. Some, you know, can say they do more than others, but other people are doing what they're doing, and they're taught certain things, so they're just doing what they're taught. You know, some of my family, including myself, because I have this in me, when I get mad, been working on it quite a bit over the past year, but when I get mad, I go for the jugular. I go for the jugular, and I worry about the repercussions afterward, because in that moment, my anger is where it is. You're gonna get my anger, and it's gonna get served to you, and it's gonna be really hot and heavy, and I've ruined lives from my own anger. I will state that clearly. I have literally ruined lives because I have felt wronged, and that's terrible, and that's part of unlearning or unfucking yourself, as I've stated before, of all the shit that you've learned prior that's no longer serving you. These lineage lines, these curses, these things that travel through the lineage line, they're not serving anymore. We have to know what serves us. Also, just because you're family doesn't mean that people aren't toxic. You know, I'm speaking from first experience. I have been one of the most toxic people that you could ever be around in my life. I've done it. I've been a shitty friend. I've been a shitty family member. I've lied. I've cheated. I've stolen. I'm an addict. Like, I come from addiction. So all these things have an input on who I am, but they don't make up who I am. And I'm just figuring that out right now. And I'm sharing it with you guys because I feel like it's so unbelievably important. Right down to calling children, you know, stupid. Oh, don't do that. That's stupid. I don't really remember if that was ever really said to me growing up. I mean, probably it was. I grew up with a lot of cousins, there was a lot of kids that looked after each other, a lot of things that were said, but I know that when I had my daughter, and now my bonus daughters, what I try and do is change the word stupid to silly, because I don't want my kids to think that they're stupid. Just because you've done a stupid thing, or stupid to whatever people think is stupid, because everyone has a different definition. Stupidity, normalcy, the definitions are going to vary. But I don't want my kids to think that just because they did something that I think is stupid, that they're stupid. You know, or even shut up, like shut your mouth. You know, it's one thing if a child's talking back to you, and I am nobody. This is kind of going more so in depth than I wanted to touch upon, but I'm just getting things from source, so I'm going to relay them as I get them. You know, telling kids to shut up, I understand the talk back, you know, when kids talk back to you and they can be disrespectful and whatnot, but in those moments too, they are asserting themselves because they're learning from you. They're learning from us. We're learning. And a lot of these things are outdated. A lot of also family things, you know, taking on the brunt of the family work and then resenting everybody for it later. And not owning the fact that I took this on, and maybe I took this on because I thought that nobody else would be able to do it. But you're not going to know if anybody else will be able to do it because you didn't set the boundary. And now you're resenting everybody for it. I've done it myself. You know, my mom's done it, my dad's done it, aunts, uncles, cousins. We're all guilty. We're human beings. We are human beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we have come here to be human. And a lot of what comes with humaning is pain, because pain is a catalyst. But it's recognizing these things that brings us upward and out of the 3D, out of the bullshit, into the 5D. So kids will make agreements with themselves. Like, say this little girl is singing her heart out and she's got a, you know, in your opinion, a terrible voice. Or mom has a headache, or dad has a headache, and the kid's belting out tunes and the headache's getting worse. And as a parent, you look at the kid and you snap and you're like, can you just shut up? Can you go? In that moment, not for all kids, but for some, you make an agreement in that moment to never sing again because you were told to shut up. Not realizing that the parent in itself has a headache or is having a bad day, and we lash. It happens. Again, where my mom always used to say that to me. We're all human. I'm human. I made mistakes. Although it bothered me in the beginning to hear her say that, or anybody say that, the older I get, the more I realize that it's the truth. We are human, and we're gonna fuck up, and might fuck our kids up in the making, or we might unfuck them while we unfuck ourselves. And by that I mean uncondition yourself to the people's, places, and things that have happened through your lineage line, because it runs in the family until it runs into you. And you'll know if you're the chain breaker, if you are the black sheep of the family, if you are and have been consistently ridiculed for your emotions or how you go about doing things, if it is outside of their norm. Normalcy, everybody will have a different definition. Everybody has a different definition, just like everybody has an asshole, all right? It's what you do with it all, you know, and sometimes just being aware of it can change it instantly. And then there are those people that are in your lives, persons, place, things, family members, friends, loved ones, however it goes, that are there to remind you that you're special. And I'm here to remind you today that you're special, okay? If you're watching these videos, if you are hearing the words that are coming out of my mouth and you are here for it, don't just come upon this for nothing. Like, it's a collective thing. And as my vibration rises and I come and share things, so does yours. So this is what I mean by being in the collective. This is what I mean by unearthing shadows light. You're taking the shit that families over the lineage lines, over decades and decades, have swept under the rug. And you're here to unearth it. You're here to pull it out and put it in the light and say no more. This stops with me. This is what unearthing shadows is. It's all the nitty-gritty skeletons in your closet kind of deal that instead of looking the other way or sweeping it under the rug, you look at it head on and you embrace it for what it is, and you say, this is where I've come from. Where am I going now? How am I going to fix it? How am I going to change? Because the world that was before, even with our parents, is not the world we're living in now, and the world that our kids are growing up. I mean, they're our next lineage. They're coming in. They're the torchbearers. We're coming here to spread the light. So be very mindful. Again, I want to state that I have made a lot of these mistakes. You know, I have yelled when I've had a headache. I have done it all. You know, when that happens, I look at my kids and I apologize. I explain to them where I'm coming from, because kids also need to realize that you're human too, and they're deserving of apologies if we step out of line. Especially people that are, you know, single moms and dads. Like, you've got a lot on your plate. There's a lot going on. You're dealing with bullying and friends and all of these different dynamics with kids and different families, you know, two dads, two moms, mom, dad, mom, single dad. There's a bunch of things. So it's teaching everybody to be kind and to clearly state your boundaries. You know, there's a lot, and we can learn from the mistakes we made. We make. We can learn from us lashing out. We can learn from how our kids take on things. You know, in the beginning of my daughter's life, about 9 months after she was born, I started using drugs again. When I went on a run for a couple years until I got myself completely clean. And during that time frame, I was working my butt off to support my kid and my habit. And I would, if I was on a day where I was withdrawing from drugs, because I liked my opiates, so anybody who has been down that road, they'll understand that. But withdrawing from it is terrible. You lash, and I would get mad at my little girl for just being little, for just understanding the world in her eyes and where she's at. These are all just my experiences. They're my truths. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you, although sometimes I look in the camera and I point, but it's for those who want to take that on and listen. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm just here spreading my truth, even the darker aspects of it, because I feel like from the dark comes the light. You will not know how bright the light can shine if it was not for the darkness that surrounds it. So be that light, and it runs in the family until it runs into you. So before I go, I'm not doing a gigantic reading, but I have this little baggie of angel cards. They're little angel cards, and I want to pick 3 angels for the collective that would like to come out and speak their piece. So we have Archangel Michael blesses you with safety. And that, you know, that goes right along with what I'm talking about, being safe and secure within yourself so you can then break those chains, you know, making your kids feel safe within themselves so they can then break the chains that you leave behind, because we all leave something. We're all going through the shit. We're all dealing with it together. Angel Cassiel blesses us with grace. So being able to do this in a graceful manner, with poise and understanding, and with gratitude. And then the last one is Angel Archangel Gabriel, and it blesses you with self-discovery. So as you move through those lineage lines, we are dealing with unearthing yourself. You're unearthing yourself. You're moving through the shit. My phone, one more thing before we get going. I would like to pick a song again because I just love music in general, the lyrics and everything to any song. Sometimes that's how my messages come through, so I'm just asking collectively. I'll, show this, press the shuffle, and we have Gypsy from Fleetwood Mac. And if you were to listen to the lyrics of this song, it's really about her growing up. So back to the gypsy that I was, where you've come from. Don't remember where you've come from. And you're not your family. You're not what your family has taught you. You're you. And that's something. So thank you for being you. And just be kind and love. And namaste, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.